Jen, do you know my secret to finding deals on Facebook Marketplace?
I'm excited. I'd like to see some cash, Vivian. So I've been
So are
spending a
you,
lot on Facebook.
I'm sure
What's your secret? Tell me everything.
that's definitely what you have to do. And I think a lot of people don't think about who they're serving before they start designing.
So you really have
Yeah.
to know your clients and what their needs are so that you can have a successful midterm rental in this space.
What if you could stop chasing weekend guests and start earning consistent income 1 month at a time? I'm Vivian Yip, host, investor, and founder of crewhomes.com and the Hestia certification. And I believe there's a better way to build wealth through real estate. Welcome to the Midterm Rental Movement podcast, where I sit down with real hosts from all walks of life who are building real wealth with furnished rentals without burning out. You'll hear how they got started, where they invest, and how they've made the shift from Airbnb stress to sustainable, scalable income. Whether you're a short-term host tired of cleaning every weekend or a busy professional looking for smarter income, this podcast is your blueprint. If you're ready to join the movement, subscribe now. And if you got a great fully furnished home listed for free at crewhomes.com, that's cruhomes.com, because real freedom starts with real income 1 month at a time. This is why the pros don't rely on Airbnb alone. If you're still only using Airbnb or VRBO without any software connected, you are putting your entire business at risk, especially if you're hosting extended stays, because at that point, you're not just offering vacation rentals anymore. You could be creating tenancy issues without even knowing it. And if you're not collecting signatures on your Innkeeper agreement, you are wide open. That's why I use API connected software like Journey. It automates everything from messaging and calendar sync to the check-in process, deposits, and yes, even getting that Innkeeper agreement signed automatically before every guest arrives. My cleaners get scheduled without me lifting a finger. Guests check in, pay, sign, and get support, all without me being glued to my phone. Use my link below to get your free demo appointment with Journey. And if you use my link, you'll get access to a special insider program with no onboarding fees, no property listing minimums, just simple automation that protects your business and saves your sanity. Go pro, go automated. Click the link and schedule your demo now. I'm so excited today to introduce Jenn Thomson from Ottawa, Canada. She is a native of Canada, which is where I'm from originally. And I just love to hear what people are doing globally. And I'm just going to give you a quick introduction, if that's okay, Jenn. Welcome to the show. She's a recently retired police officer with 16 years of service who discovered a deeper passion for real estate investing. Over the years, she's owned 3 properties, and in October, she purchased a single family home that converted into a duplex. Following the completions of renovations in April, she made the decision to enter the midterm rental market. So, tell us, what inspired your transition from law enforcement into real estate investing, specifically using the midterm rental strategy, and what has surprised you most about this shift?
Well, thank you for having me, Vivian. I really appreciate being on your show today. Thank you for the intro. Yes, after 16 years, I am a recently retired police officer. I retired on Wednesday. And I realized that after, yeah, so it's definitely a new transition. But yeah, I was craving more creativity, more freedom, and more control over my time. I've always had a passion for real estate, but never really pursued it. So I took it upon myself last fall in October to commit. I'd already owned a couple of properties myself. I ended up buying a single family home in October. And although I never really saw it as a career path until I started diving into it more intentionally, it sort of evolved as such. And that's where I'm at today with a midterm rental now in Ottawa. I have a duplex that I'm renting both sides.
Amazing. And you make a really good point about just being able to learn more and just diving into this, because when I started doing real estate, we didn't have communities back then. And by having communities and podcasts and Facebook groups and meetups.com, it just makes our journey so much easier. So what is your like, how do you convert a single family home into a duplex? Walk me through that.
Great question. I had never done it before. I, I was very much interested in flipping initially. I thought I just wanted to do a cosmetic flip, but a property came up online that had been sitting for about 80 days. So I reached out to my real estate agent at the time and I said, I have to see this place. The layout was beautiful. It was a 1963 brick bungalow on the right side, and the original owners created an addition side vertical to the left that connected to the home but was not fully separated. So when we went through the walkthrough together with my realtor, I said, I have to put an offer on this. And he turned to me and said, unfortunately, there already is an offer. What's your best number? So I came up with my best number. I won the bid and we closed in October. I ended up reaching out to some contractors, conducted many interviews, and found the best one that I felt was best suited for the job. And we hit the ground running while we waited for permits. We worked on the outside. We did some light demo work. Once the permits were approved by the city, we were able to fully convert this single family home into two very separate units that are now recognized by the city as a duplex.
That is an amazing strategy. Like, I don't know if you know this, but I own two duplexes side by side. So four buildings or four units side by side. What I've loved about duplexes for, especially for midterm rentals, is that for me, when one side is booked, the bills are getting paid. And then when the other side is booked, that's like bonus money. So how did you know that that was going to be a good deal?
I'm very, very conservative with my numbers. So I just from life experience and just being a very good budget minded or budget conscious person, I was able to reach out to people that were already doing it, leaning into the communities that you were just mentioning, connecting with people, networking, listening to podcasts, reading books. I was drinking it all in, consuming this to the point where it was almost an obsession because I'm very hard on myself. I don't like to fail. So when I try to, and failure is real in this industry. And I knew I was going to make mistakes, but this one was going to cost me money. So I had to be very careful with my strategy. So I was really leaning into a network that I could trust and that had done this before. So yes, I just really just had to trust the process, run my numbers very well, know what I could capture on the rent on the back end. In truth, I was actually going to do this as a long-term rental, but I felt like based on the area that it was located in, it would work better as a midterm, which is how I leaned into this space.
Our midterm rental, is that strategy getting more popular in Canada?
It's becoming more popular, but it's not as well known. When I tell people that I'm doing midterm rentals, they look at me like, what is that? So I'm doing a lot of educating with my friends and family, other investors who aren't so familiar with it. So I'm enjoying the process of teaching people that you can do this too. I mean, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's a lot of creativity, a lot of pivoting, a lot of strategic planning,
A
and
lot of
that's what I wanted.
hospitality. Yeah.
A lot of hospitality. I'm on
Hmm.
my phone more than I ever have been.
Yeah, it happens.
So
But are there risks in, like, I know that being from Canada myself, I know that there's some pretty heavy tenant-friendly laws. What are you looking out for?
that was one of the reasons why I was swaying away from the long-term rental market. The residential tenancy board or act, sorry, is quite challenging for tenant or for landlords, more pro-tenant, especially in Ontario. So I thought the midterm space would really offer me an opportunity to still have the opportunity to be a landlord and to rent, but on a shorter term. So although the furnishing upfront costs are more than a long-term rental, and it could be maybe harder to find consistent guests depending on your market, I felt like this was a better strategy just given where I am in my current situation for midterm rentals.
No, that's great. So you mentioned furnishing. What are your strategies to furnish that midterm rental and who are you attracting?
So for me, I've been really leaning into Amazon, Ikea, and Facebook Marketplace. I'm all about, repurposing and reusing furniture that is in good condition. So for me, I've been focusing on clean, modern pieces with durable finishes. Obviously, there's going to be some wear and tear. I leaned into a neutral color palette that I thought would appeal to the masses, not just what it would appeal to me. So I could attract a broad range of tenants. I started to also create a space that was comfortable, that someone can lay their head down at night and feel safe, feel welcomed. These people are working hard. They're renting my space as corporate people, professionals. Military is very heavy, obviously, in Ottawa, government workers, digital nomads. So the one side of my duplex is a 1 bedroom, 2 bathroom. So that's the client avatar there is more professionals or single or couples. The other side is a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. And that's where I'm leaning into more families, insurance claims, people who are maybe going through a transition in between moves. So you really have
Yeah.
to know your clients and what their needs are so that you can have a successful midterm rental in this space.
That's definitely what you have to do. And I think a lot of people don't think about who they're serving before they start designing. So I think it's really great that you've created a very broad range and a neutral design because I think some people focus too heavily on one way or another. Like, here's the thing with midterm rentals, you don't need the neon lights and the grassy walls and things like that. We just want to really like our guests just really want a nice clean home. Jen, do you know my secret to finding deals on Facebook Marketplace?
What's your secret? Tell me everything.
My secret is shopping on the last day of the month
Oh,
because people are moving, typically moving out of their lease ends around that time. They're moving any of the big pieces like desks, couches, beds, those
mm,
typically go at a severe discount because now they're desperate to get it out.
interesting. That's a great tip. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I could
I love
use
that
that.
one. Yeah, and it works really well because my husband has a big truck. Like he's got a F-250. So literally anything that comes up for sale, I'm like, let's go grab it now. And it's
Absolutely.
and I love Facebook Marketplace because every time I go to IKEA, I feel so overwhelmed because I see all these pretty things on display. And I was like, yeah, that's going to look great. And then you go down to the warehouse, you pick up the stuff, you come home, and there's like a million pieces, a million screws. And you're just like, oh, this is not what I want to sign up for. And then you waste the next like hour and a half, 2 hours putting together the thing when your time could have been so much better used just by driving and buying a gently used piece.
Absolutely. I just purchased a full entertainment center for $200 that included 2 side tables. And my 10-year-old was able to help me move it in. So, you get your friends, your family, people are willing to help and it's doable at an affordable price for sure.
Yeah. I have some other questions for you, though. Let's see. So, for someone considering the midterm rental strategy, what are the biggest pros and cons? Did you start in short-term rental, or did you have long-term rentals? Tell me what you think.
So for me, I have a lot of investor friends who have educated me on their challenges, their successes and their challenges when it comes to short-term rentals. Also, long-term rentals come with their own challenges. So I thought maybe for me, a midterm rental space would be best. And the reason for my specific property and midterm renting was that I wasn't fully complete on my project.
If you've got a rental, whether it's short term, mid-term, or long term, you need a solid insurance policy that's actually made for landlords. I use Steadily because it's fast, digital, and built for real estate investors just like us. No long phone calls, no back and forth, just a clean, modern way to get coverage. You can get a quote in under 2 minutes with Steadily.com. Again, that's Steadily.com, modern insurance for modern hosts. Check out the link below to get your quote today.
I didn't want to get someone in on a long-term rent when I still needed access to the property. For instance, I still need to finish part of the basement. I still wanted to make some changes in the home that I wasn't able to do, but I needed to get money in because so much money was going out. So I thought to myself, how could I still have access to my property and the land and the house and still make some money? So midterm rental space was why I leaned into it. For me, the pros, fewer turnovers with short-term rentals, which means less cleaning and coordination, higher rental income than traditional long-term leases. So in my area, a
What do you
typical
guys, yeah.
increase,
Yeah, I was going to
we get
ask that.
1.5% more when we charge for long-term rentals. So I had a property manager walk through before I leaned into the midterm space, and she said for my one side, I could capture $2,500. And my midterm space can capture 1.5 times more than that because it's furnished and I include all the amenities. So that was attractive to me. Although on the upfront, I had to spend on furniture and I have to pay the utilities, et cetera, et cetera. I was still making much more profit than if I were to lean into a long-term rental space. I should add that in Ottawa, there are restrictions with Airbnb for short-term rentals. They prohibit them unless you live within the home. So because I don't live at that property, I could not get a license to run an Airbnb out of this property, which is why midterm rentals was my only avenue or long term.
So when you
So
say you're not allowed to Airbnb, are you still allowed to put your property on Airbnb, but it's a 30-day minimum?
exactly. So you can set it to 30-day minimum up to 365 days. And Ottawa does not recognize that as a short-term rental. Therefore, I do not need a license and I can rent it out without living there.
What are eviction rules
Um,
like in Ottawa?
they're tough. There's quite a process, and unfortunately, there's a huge delay right now, upwards of a year plus for getting people out. It's very tenant friendly, so landlords are starting to shy away from allowing long-term rentals within their properties, which is why we are in such a housing crisis here. So a lot of people are becoming fearful of renting, which is why I think midterm rentals is becoming a really great opportunity for landlords who have an existing property, who don't really want to go into the long term, who are restricted to short term. Midterm would be ideal for their situation.
Sorry, we're no different here. Like we have some states that are really tenant friendly. So I'm so interested to hear what kind of agreement you're signing and what kind of advice you may have received from any attorney or whatnot to ensure that you're not getting a squatter or how to get them out.
Those are definitely risks that I've considered. So we definitely make sure that every client that reaches out to us through Airbnb or any other platform that I'm advertising on, we will have an Ontario standard lease agreement where we are signing everything and making everything crystal clear. So we're not just relying on Airbnb's terms and conditions. We're also implementing our own standard lease to the client so that everything is completely crystal clear and the expectations are laid out first and foremost. Of course, if they decide to not vacate at the end of their lease term, then I have to rely on the Residential Tenant Act. So that is where I would have to go through the legal routes to get them evicted. So there are still
Mm.
risks when it comes to midterm rentals. I will say that I am my client avatar, working professionals, and those that are willing to pay a little bit more. So I feel as though most people are transient when they come to me. They're there on a work assignment or something of the sort. So you just really have to do your due diligence, is what I would highly recommend for any rental.
I think in my experience, and I've been doing this for over 6 years now, I almost feel like it's safer to take an Airbnb guest sometimes over Zillow. We kind of got scammed a little bit by a Zillow person. You just have to do your due diligence. And I'm sure you guys have websites like Zillow in Canada as well, where you have like a lead magnet to attract someone to stay for a longer stay. I wanted to see if it's plausible in Canada. So with me, we have our guests sign an innkeeper agreement rather than a lease. And in this innkeeper agreement, we basically say we're exercising the same rights as a hotel, being a hospitality provider. And when this guest, we never call them tenants, in this lease, we say that the guest understands that by signing this agreement, that they have a primary residence, number one. Number two, that they are using the property for transient purposes only. And number three, this document is not establishing a landlord tenant relationship, but a guest and owner relationship. If that, I mean, you as a former police officer, if an Airbnb host were to call you and say, "Hey, Officer Thompson, I need to get this person moved out, and I have this contract with them," are you able to remove them for criminal trespassing or?
We have had many calls actually about this. I've had calls where a tenant or a landlord showed up and their entire place was emptied. Someone had ordered a moving truck and stolen all of their furnishings. I've had another one where they had squatters who were overstaying their welcome. But I will say that from a from a legal standpoint, it's a civil issue. So I could be there to ensure everyone's safety, and I can certainly assist the landlord in guiding them to for processes on how to evict this person. However, I can't physically remove someone from the property. That is the Residential Tenant Act, at least in Ontario. So it's a tough situation. I really, really encourage anyone who is thinking of renting or leasing or inviting guests into your home to make sure that you do your due diligence, do your checks, make sure that you're getting good people. Of course, that nothing is ever perfect. You're going to potentially run into issues, but that's a risk you're going to have to be willing to take when you're opening your rentals or your homes to people.
More money, more problems, right?
I tell you.
So are both sides fully furnished now?
So I'm in the midst of it. I have one side fully furnished. I started with the small side as to not overwhelm myself. And then now I'm starting on the bungalow side. So that's the 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. Because we just had Amazon Prime Day, I just bought a whole bunch of stuff off of Amazon at a great discount. I'll be going to the Ikea liquidation area to make sure I'm not missing any good deals there. And I'm scouring Facebook Marketplace, and I'm hoping to get this place up and running by the end of July so that I can get occupancy potentially in August. So it's a long process, especially as your first time. I'm laying the groundwork for what works and what doesn't, and I'm learning as I go. So now that I've got one side fully furnished, I know what I need for the next unit, and I'll just become more and more smooth as I go. But it is definitely a learning curve.
I'm going to give you one trick that really helped me with my maintenance. Before you let anybody move in, make sure you get photos of all the air filter sizes. Get a photo
Mm,
of the water heater model and size. Get a photo of your AC model and the sticker and the serial number. Uh,
yes.
just those mechanical things and get a picture of your electrical panel and the numbers
Mm.
that work with the electrical panel, because you're going to have breakers trip, you're going to have things happen, freon run out, and you're not going to have those answers right away. So unless you go physically there. So having photos of all these things really helped me in my operations process. That way, no one's always relying on me to go and do something. I've already just captured that information.
That's a great tip. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay, I have one really big question. I work with a lot of insurance companies, insurance relocation companies. What is that process like in Canada? Are there a lot of homes available for these insurance relocations? What is their current options now? Have you dived in a lot into the information on this?
I haven't. I actually just refinanced this property. I was in a private financing deal that I had to transition into a conventional one. So as I was speaking with my insurance broker, she wasn't very familiar with the midterm rental space either. So I was speaking to her about insurance claims and how that works. She wasn't overly familiar. So we're in the coordination stages of recommending my property. Should she have like a fire or flood claim, they need a place to stay, go on Airbnb and look for this property. So I'm hoping for a more streamlined process there. I think that comes down to networking and just meeting people as I go. It's really just a learning curve and just trying to make sure that people are aware that this is available to them and that they can lean on my property if they need something in the short term until they find something long term.
Yeah. When you look at the competition in Ottawa, is there a lot of competition for 30-day stays in your area?
No, not right now. The competition is mostly shared spaces because of the short-term rental restrictions. Anyone that
Mm,
wants to rent 30 days or more, a lot of people want their own private space, and that's what I offer in my duplex. I don't live there. They do have to share a party wall, but there's no one living above or below them. So my property is a unique one and one that I've noticed on the mapping Airbnb tool that I'm one of a few that are offering this service. So I'm pretty excited. And hopefully more people will pop up because there's clearly a need for housing, and especially in Ottawa.
yeah. That's amazing. I think you're onto something. You're an early adopter into your area
Thank
and
you.
continue, educating your investor friends on this. For me, I call it the secret to cash flow.
Oh, I'm excited. I'd like to see some cash, Vivian. So I've
So
been
are
spending
you,
a lot on Facebook.
I'm sure. So do you have any plans to come to any conferences in the US? Are you one of those Canadians that are voting with your wallet and not coming to the US right now?
No, I was just in Boston. My kids are both hockey kids, so we just had a Boston tournament. It was lovely. Everyone was very kind. The border was very easy to get through. I'm more than happy to come down and join some conferences. That's where I learn the most and I meet the most people. I've met some fantastic people who are now becoming friends. So I'm certainly open to that for sure.
Amazing. Well, Jen, thank you so much for being on the show today. And for
Thank you
all
for
of
having
you
me.
that are listening, I do have a free Facebook community and learn more inspiring stories from beginners to advanced investors. Thank you, Jen, so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Welcome to the ARC Watchtower. Do you know what the major online travel platforms actually cover? Most hosts don't until it's too late. Payout delays, denied claims, and no protection for direct bookings, midterm stays, or reverse arbitrage setups. That's why there's ARC Watchtower, with up to $50,000 in damage protection and $1 million in liability coverage for every stay on every platform. It's automated, platform agnostic, and built for today's operators, from short-term hosts to mid-term rental pros and reverse arbitrage managers placing insurance or corporate guests. Sign up today in 60 seconds. No forms, no gaps, just real protection.